Hey everyone, Arglefump here with a review for the second Nancy Drew game, Stay Tuned for Danger. I'll be playing the game in the background just so you can have something to look at while I'm talking about the game. The premise of the game is that a soap opera star named Rick Arlen is getting death threats. Nancy needs to figure out who's responsible. Nancy explains that in the opening scene, which is playing right now. Then she talks to Maddie Jensen, who explains it again, just in case you weren't paying attention the first time around. Maddie is a nice character, even if she's kind of bland and looks plastic. All of the characters in this game look like plastic. The animation is not the highest quality here. And that's very obvious in the first location of the game, Maddie's apartment, where character heads are copy-pasted onto human bodies. It's supposed to look realistic, but instead it just looks so fake it's laughable, like here, and also here. You can tell which character is real and then which character is fake. I don't know why they put fake photographs all over Maddie's apartment when none of the other locations have them. Maybe the game designers quickly realized they have to make things either all CGI or all real, not a Frankenstein mixture of both. So with the first conversation with Maddie, she talks for a few minutes about everything that's happened. Rick got poisoned chocolates, some death threats, and a broken clock. If you don't talk about the broken clock on the first time around, it disappears from the conversation topics, which kind of made me worried that this game would have bad dialogue trees like the previous game. But no, that's actually one of the few times where a conversation topic disappears forever. And it's actually impossible to skip over the important conversation topics in this game. So, it's a big improvement over the first game. They fixed the problems with the dialogue. Fixed the problems with the dialogue trees, and with the dialogue in general, because the dialogue is noticeably better in this game. It's more interesting and it's more natural sounding. I noticed a fair amount of the dialogue is copy-pasted from the book, and that's good. The book was well written. There's no need to completely rewrite it just because it's a video game now. So, Rick is getting death threats, but he's not taking them seriously. Nobody thinks the threats are serious, except for Maddie. It's never really explained why Maddie is more concerned about the death threats than anyone else, and maybe that's why I don't like Maddie as a character. She acts like she's the victim, but she's not, and now things are awkward, because she doesn't fit into the mystery as a victim or a suspect. She's just the contact, and the contact is never important to the mystery overall. With pretty much every other game in the series, the contact doesn't appear. If they do appear, they're a phone contact, not an actual suspect. Dealing with Maddie shows why the contact doesn't appear. They have to do a weird balancing act between being close to the mystery but distant from the mystery at the same time, and it doesn't really work. And now I've started my review by making it seem like Maddie is a bad character who shouldn't be included in the game. That's not true. She is a good character, and I like her for the most part. The problem is that this game makes some questionable casting decisions, much like the soap opera that it's trying to depict. I think Her Interactive went overboard with the characters, and that's the problem. Most of the characters appear once and never again. For the longest time, this was the game with the most characters out of the entire Nancy Drew series. And while having a large cast of characters is good, the cast in this game is underutilized. A good example is Ralph, the security guard. He signs Nancy into the building, and that's it. That's all Ralph does. No dialogue options, no conversations, just, "Sign here, Miss Drew. Have a nice day." The other character in this game who didn't appear in the book is Millie Strathorn, and right off the bat, her name is way too close to Maddie's name for comfort. Millie, Maddie, I tend to get them confused. Millie forces you to solve some brain teasers, and then she disappears forever. She disappears from the prop room, and the last thing she says is that she's going to go unpowder her nose. So I like to imagine she just spends the next 9 hours wandering the game, looking for a bathroom that doesn't exist. The TV studio is a neat location, although I think the layout could be improved because it's just two identical hallways mirrored on each other. Nancy talks with Maddie in her dressing room, where Maddie gives her more information about Rick, the plot, and then she leaves. Just like the first conversation with Maddie, and the third, and the fourth. It's like her only purpose is to give Nancy plot information, then leave immediately. Like I said, she's the contact. Oh, hey, wait. I realize why I'm not Maddie's biggest fan. In this second conversation with Maddie, she makes an awkward joke about Yuri, Rick's twin brother. Not only is her delivery flat, but the general idea is, haha, soap operas have stupid storylines, which can be true. But it still feels like this game is insulting me for watching daytime TV. Well, what if I got this game because I like watching soap operas? Maybe I have to watch soap operas because during nighttime, my wife steals the TV remote. Did you ever think of that, Maddie? Huh? If you hate soap operas so much, then why are you on a soap opera? Huh? Other than that, Maddie's a great character, probably the most likable character in the game. Just don't like that Yuri joke that she's telling right now. You can explore Maddie's room, and there's an optional jigsaw puzzle that I always skip. I always skip Maddie's room, actually. Nothing there really interests me. Rick's room is more interesting to explore since he's got all the various death threats lying around. It's not explained why he keeps death threats where he can see them all the time, but the point I'm making is that Rick's room is relevant to the investigation, whereas Maddie's room doesn't seem to have any reason for existing, besides for the fact that Maddie needed to be somewhere in the building where they record the soap opera. Talking to Maddie unlocks the soap opera scene. We watch them film the scene, and oh my gosh, it is horrible. No wonder Maddie hates soap operas. She cannot act, and neither can Rick. They're supposed to be great actors who have won multiple awards, but the soap opera is just plain terrible. Fortunately, the scene gets cut short when a Klieg light almost falls on Rick's head. He flips out and everyone leaves. This is the only cutscene of the game, and it was good. I liked it, bad acting aside. The brief part with angry Rick is surprisingly good, and his acting when he's angry is way better than his acting on the actual TV show he gets paid to act on. Next in the game, Nancy talks to Maddie and Rick. Maddie is so stressed she leaves immediately. Rick is flirty. He starts hitting on Nancy even when she points out that he almost died just now, he should be scared or worried or something besides trying to pick up teenage girls. And I think this is why Maddie acts more like the victim than Rick does. Rick is a sleazeball. I don't feel bad for him, and I don't want to help him. I'm more than willing to let him deal with his problems alone. If I wasn't solving this case for Maddie's sake, I'd probably leave Mr. I check out my hair in the mirror all the time. I don't know. It's kind of hard to have Rick be a nice guy, so you feel bad for him and want to help him, at the same time that he's a big jerk, such a big jerk that multiple people are trying to kill him. The game doesn't even try to balance these two personality aspects. All we see is Rick's bad side. We only talk to him twice, though, so it's unreasonable to expect a huge amount of character development. Still, I would have liked it if the game was more like the book, where the first time you meet Rick, he's kind of overconfident the first time you meet him. The second time you meet him, the bomb has shattered his confidence, and now he's a worried, scared person who openly apologizes for the way he acted earlier. And it would have been cool if the game kept that little thing where Rick transforms like that, and he kind of redeems himself by being a nicer person later on. Someone who does not get redeemed is Lillian. Lillian Weiss, the director. She is Rick's ex-girlfriend, although the game does not go into their relationship very much. All Lillian does in the game is say mean things to Nancy, so I can't imagine she was a very good girlfriend. Her dates with Rick must have been so awkward. Like Rick is saying, "Oh, you're super lucky to be going out on a date with me," and then she insults him for ordering the wrong type of food. No wonder they broke up. I think the idea is that Lillian used to be nice, but her breakup with Rick made her cold and bitter, and now she's a jerk. Maybe? I don't like Lillian, but it's clear you're not supposed to like her. She's the character who's suspicious because she's angry and mean all the time. That happens a lot in this series. Mean people are suspicious. Lillian steals Nancy's visitor's pass. Nancy goes back to Maddie, who runs away from the conversation again. Then you have to talk to Maddie another time, and Maddie tells Nancy to get a job as a temporary actor with Dwayne Powers, the agent. Dwayne is my favorite character of the game. He is so much fun. The way he overacts with all the scenes, I was amused by him the entire time. It's just too bad he only appears in this one scene where he hires Nancy. For the rest of the game, he's just a phone contact, which is better than nothing. Still, they should have put his phone number on the list that appears whenever you pick up the phone to indicate, hey, you can call this guy. His phone number on the map screen is not just a fake phone number like all the other phone numbers in the game. I found that to be disappointing too, because I wanted to call some of the phone numbers I saw in the game. Like Rick's cell phone number, you can find that in Maddie's room. It's not a real phone number, you can't actually call it, and that was a disappointment. In the first game, all of the random phone numbers were real. You could actually call them, but in this game, all of the phone numbers are mostly fake. It's probably the only thing I would say that the first game did better than this game. So Dwayne gets Nancy a job as an extra, and I think it's too bad that Nancy never does any work as an extra. Like, she was hired to be an actress, but she never does any acting whatsoever. It's, you think she would act at some point, but no, being an actress means that Nancy gets to explore the set whenever she wants, and then she can go to the prop room. The prop room is filled with a lot of junk that's not useful, and it's got brain teasers, just like the first game again. Thankfully, there aren't as many brain teasers in this game as there were in the last one. I'm glad they decided to cut back on the brain teasers, and by the time game number 3 comes around, brain teasers will be completely gone. It's sort of like how Jar Jar Binks gradually disappeared from the Star Wars trilogy. In the prop room, you can get Millie's computer logon and password, if you can find that tiny hotspot for her password, and you have a Tower of Hanoi puzzle. The difficulty settings in the game affect this puzzle, and I feel like that's a good use of the 3 difficulty settings. I wish the Tower of Hanoi puzzle and Haunting of Castle Malloy was that user-friendly in terms of difficulty. The difficulty settings also affect the riddles that Millie tells at the start of the prop room, so basically the difficulty settings affect the prop room and the endgame challenge. Good to see that they are more useful than they were in the previous game. Eventually, Nancy gets a videotape, and that's something which frustrated a lot of people. The game comes to a complete stop if you don't get the videotape. Same thing with the phone call at the very end of the game. If you're stuck and you don't know what to do, it is awful. You have to go back through the entire game and check everything in hopes of finding the one tiny trigger that you missed. That's the main problem with this game, I would say. It's too easy to get stuck on the videotape or the ending phone call. I also got stuck on that. You can see it in my walkthrough for the game. Very frustrating. I can see why people get mad about it, and I'm going to take a point off the game's score just for that issue. It would have helped if the game had phone conversation hints to guide you, like Bess and George had some sort of clue telling you where to go. But the phone conversations with Nancy's friends are not really hints in this game. They're more like interesting conversations. Like Bess wants to talk about all the characters because she's a soap opera fan. Ned, he's basically a concerned person, and man, is it weird to hear Ned's voice in this game just because it's not the Ned voice for all of the other games in the series? It's just kind of weird. As for George, she talks to you at the start of the game, and I think that's it. Basically, I don't know. See, the phone conversations are set up, so you talk to one friend at the start of the game, one friend in the middle, one friend towards the end. You've got this notepad here next to the phone, which indicates which friend you can talk to at this point. That's a neat idea, an interesting way to juggle having 3 phone contacts, but it's kind of limiting, so I understand why they switched over to the system where you can call your friends at basically any point in the game. That way there's no arbitrary hurdle like Bess doesn't answer the phone until you meet Dwayne and Millie. From now on, Nancy's friends will be psychic, and they will know everything that's going on in the game, even without being told. Back to arbitrary hurdles. The blue videotape in Maddie's house, it does not appear unless Nancy has the clippers and the screwdriver. That's because those items are necessary for the bomb defusing puzzle. The hurdle is just the game's way of making sure you can't trigger the bomb puzzle without being able to solve it. Sort of like the boiler room puzzle from the previous game. Remember that the official way to solve the puzzle is to use the bolt cutters. At some point somebody must have realized, oh no, what happens if you don't have the bolt cutters? You can't go back and get them, so you're stuck forever in a death trap! So they threw in this alternate solution, which is a lot easier. So in order to avoid a situation like that with the bomb death trap, they added the videotape hurdle. I really hope the videotape is there just as a check to make sure that you have the right inventory items, and not because the videotape was in the book, because it was rather pointless in the book, and it's equally pointless here in the game. It's just a woman with a heavy accent who's interviewing Rick, but then he doesn't answer the questions, she just dodges them with weak jokes. One last thing about the videotape, and then I'll stop, I swear. Getting the videotape to appear in Maddie's area is hard enough, but noticing the videotape package is also difficult, because it's on a chair that's half off screen. It's tiny, you can only see it from certain angles. They should have put it right next to the phone where it would be hard to miss. After you watch the videotape, a bomb appears in Rick's room. The bomb is set to blow up as soon as somebody enters the room. I have no idea how it works, because it's not connected to the door of the room in any way, so how does it know when to explode? Maybe it's not set to blow up when the door opens. Maybe it's just set up to explode at 1 o'clock when Rick usually comes back from lunch, but Rick was extra late today, and Nancy just has the worst timing ever. The bomb is inside a tape player. Nancy has to unscrew the speaker and clip 4 wires into the proper order. There's not really a clue which indicates what the proper order is, you just have to guess randomly. It seems a little unfair that there's a game over sequence when the solution relies on random guessing, just like the final puzzle of the game, but it's not that bad with the bomb defusing puzzle. I think it would have helped if second chance put you back at the wire clipping puzzle, so you weren't forced to undo all 4 screws again every time you redo the wire puzzle. So, after that, you get a phone call from Bill Pappas, the producer. I found that part kind of interesting, because it's a long phone call. You can talk to him about a lot if you want, and it's the only time you talk to this particular suspect. I like how the game puts so much effort into this off-screen character. It's more effort than they put into Millie, who's supposed to be a legitimate suspect. I wonder if Bill Pappas was supposed to be an on-screen character at one point. Either way, I thought it was a good segment, even if it's not important to the game overall. After the phone call with Bill Pappas, you get a letter in Maddie's apartment. He sends Maddie a letter which shows what the new security code to the building is, and this allows Nancy to sneak into the building at nighttime, and that gives her new areas that she can explore. She can explore Lillian's room, the sound booth, and the elevator area. Those locations were fine. I think the random joke items in Lillian's room were more interesting than the actual clues in Lillian's room. The sound booth wasn't very interesting. You can play with the soundboard in order to see if there are any clues on this audio tape, but there aren't any clues on the audio tape, so there's really no point. As for the elevator puzzle, it's basically the boiler room puzzle from the previous game turned sideways. Thought I wouldn't notice her interactive? I did. The investigation gives us a new top suspect, Owen Spader. He was around for all of the accidents, and he played with the Klieg light, which almost fell on Rick earlier. Owen Spader is an obvious anagram for Dwayne Powers, so that means Dwayne is the culprit. Also, we have this videotape of Owen Spader walking around, then he takes off his disguise and Dwayne Powers walks away. So, in retrospect, it's pretty obvious that Dwayne is the culprit of this game. Still, the first time I played the game, I took Owen's name tag at face value and I just believed he worked for Dwayne. Either way, getting into Dwayne's area is next because we want to find out more about Owen Spader. What you have to do is get into Dwayne's apartment at nighttime by buzzing random people in the apartment complex until you find somebody who lets you in. I don't like this puzzle. It is a jerk move on Nancy's part to bug a bunch of random strangers, especially if the player hasn't figured out you're trying to get into Dwayne's office and they're just bothering random people for no reason. One person mistakes Nancy for a pizza delivery person and they let her in. Fortunately, that person never realizes their mistake and calls security to have her ejected from the building. Dwayne's office is interesting. It's got neat stuff to look at, and I especially like the humorous files that Dwayne has on the various characters who are his employees. You need to break into Dwayne's briefcase, where you learn that he's badly in debt and he's getting evicted. He's getting evicted like next week, which is weird because his initial reaction to Nancy is, "Go away! I don't want new clients." Dude, you need all the money you can get. Why are you turning away potential clients? Anyway, Dwayne is broke and he's got plane tickets, indicating that he's going to flee the country very soon. This never gets mentioned by anyone in the game, but I thought it was a nice touch to indicate how desperate Dwayne is. Too bad he doesn't have the lost gold of Cibla. Oh wait, wrong game. So we're basically at the end of the game, and there's not much left to do after that. You can talk to Rick a second time, and you have to talk to Maddie and Lillian about Owen Spader. There's not much point to this, as Maddie knows nothing about him, and Lillian is too angry to tell you anything. Still, you have to do it to trigger the phone call at the end of the game. Lillian calls you, and she asks you to meet her at the studio late at night. When you show up, she insults you for being late. What a jerk. Like, I'm here because you asked me to be here. If you wanted me to arrive at a specific time, you should have said so. Lillian has been doing her own investigation, and the culprit just sent her a threatening message. Oh no! As we'll see in a moment, this threatening message is actually part of a death trap. Funny how the culprit thinks Lillian is a bigger threat than Nancy is. Now, to be fair, the culprit did send Nancy, a fake-out bomb threat with that ticking clock, which was the package in Maddie's area. Still, he just tries to scare Nancy. He doesn't try to kill her like he does with Lillian. So, Lillian asks Nancy who the culprit is, and Nancy gets to name one of these characters, along with their motive, and I thought that was a neat thing. I liked it. It was an interesting idea, and I liked how each character has more than one possible motive. Sadly, it doesn't affect the game at all. The same thing happens no matter who you accuse and why. I kind of wish they had played around with a bit more with this culprit accusation idea, because it gets dropped from the series after this, with a brief reappearance in the Captive Curse. So, it is revealed that Dwayne is the culprit of the game. He monologues you from the shadows, and it's clear that he's gone crazy. You can talk to him a little bit about his motive, and you can plead with him not to commit murder, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's still a nice touch. I like the culprit confrontation, especially how you interact with the culprit a little bit. It's definitely better than the culprit confrontation in the previous game and then the game following this one. So Dwayne locks Nancy and Lillian inside the building, and now he's going to kill them. Nancy yells, "Lillian, hide!" and then Lillian completely disappears. Bad idea, Nancy, bad idea. I think Lillian and Nancy could have overpowered Dwayne if they worked together. By splitting up, that just makes it easier for him to strangle them. Because that's how Dwayne kills Nancy. He walks up to Nancy with his arms outstretched, laughing madly. It's a frightening death scene. I'm actually surprised at how scary it is. In the book, Nancy stops Dwayne by turning on a fog machine, which is on the set. I think that could have worked in the game, because by now you've explored the set a few times. But instead, the endgame challenge is to pull the fire alarm and then unlock the door by pressing a bunch of random buttons in the correct order. The order being random. The proper order is randomized, and the hardest difficulty setting does not give enough time for you to solve the puzzle. It takes like over 10 attempts on average for me to beat the endgame challenge on the hardest difficulty setting. And the entire time the alarm is just blaring, going, destroying your concentration. And ugh, I didn't like it. I'm taking another point off of my score for the game just for that. And no, this is not me being a whiny complainer. Her Interactive actually released a patch which fixes the timer on that endgame challenge. Her Interactive also discontinued the game in 2011, just 4 days after the game's 12th anniversary. That makes me sad. I'm also kind of sad that Bess is not in this game, considering that she's one of the main characters in the book. That is, a third of the book is romance, not mystery. Bess starts dating Rick Arlen, even though everybody tells her it's a bad idea. Nancy's kind of forced to go along with it so she can help out Bess when Bess inevitably gets her heart broken. That could have been an interesting game, or at least an interesting subplot in this game, but, they probably made the right decision in keeping the game focused on mystery, investigation, and Nancy rather than Bess and romance. So when you saw the final puzzle of the game, the scene of Dwayne choking Nancy is interrupted by Ralph the security guard, who bumps Dwayne with his large belly. Oh, so that's why Ralph was in this game the whole time. He's important in the final 12 seconds. Oh, of course, that makes sense. Yeah. In the end, we don't hear what happened to Ralph, or Bill Pappas, or Millie. We're told Lillian moved on to being a movie director, which I guess is a happy ending for her. She still needs to work out her anger issues. Rick and Maddie are kind of a couple again, which is happy for them, I guess? Rick is still a bad person. Maddie needs somebody better. Yeah, she definitely needs a better boyfriend than Rick. As for Dwayne, he's still in prison. He gets sent to prison, but I'm sure we'll see him again someday. Overall, this is a great game. I love it, and it improves upon most of the flaws from the previous game. That is, they got rid of a good deal of those brain teasers that people didn't like. They improved the dialogue in general, and the phone call dialogue in particular. There are more puzzles this time around, and the gameplay has a lot less just wandering around, wondering it is what you're supposed to do. If it wasn't for those two technical issues that I mentioned earlier, I would give this game a perfect score, because I just love this game to death, especially Dwayne Powers. Best villain in this game, definitely. I give Nancy Drew Stay Tuned for Danger, an 8 out of 10.